Hello and welcome to the Second Tier Podcast. I'm Ryan Dilks and I'm joined by the running to Germany to my running the length of Africa. It's Justin Peach.
Good day to you, Ryan.
A little hardest geezer reference for anyone who doesn't understand that intro. Justin, I was wondering if you wanted to start off this episode by getting a quote from the Book of Warnock, because we haven't done it for a while, have we?
Yeah, a little bit of a throwback to last month, pretty much.
To the season, which has only recently ended. Can you give me a page number, please, dear boy?
I will give you a page number, 67.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 16 then, because that was the page I was on. 67. Okay, so this is actually just in about Bradley Johnson, former Derby County midfielder.
Okay.
I don't think he was playing for Derby at the time because it's when Warnock was at QPR. So Warnock is blaming Bradley Johnson for Jerry Barton's red card for QPR. Warnock says, "You say cheats don't prosper, but I think in this case he has done." Which is just a very Warnock kind of quote, isn't it?
It is.
This next one, this is from his time at Crystal Palace. His Palace side wasn't tough enough, apparently. Warnock says, "It was like I used to say when I was a manager up north. We looked like southern softies."
No comment.
Yeah, no further comment needed on that. And finally, this is from when Sheffield United edged a narrow win over Colchester in the FA Cup in the mid-2000s. Warnock said, "I counted 8 chances and they were all sitters. My 5-year-old daughter would have scored 3 of them."
I feel like he said something like that a number of occasions, but
Probably.
I mean, he would have had a million strikers at that point, so he's got no excuses either as a manager.
Yeah, he once said in the Warnock documentary, didn't he, that bloody hell, my missus could have played against him, talking about one of his own players in the dressing room. But that's just Warnock all over, isn't it? Anyway, welcome to the Number One Championship Podcast, the Second Tier. Thank you for joining us wherever you are. Yes, as you would have seen from the title of this episode, today we're counting down the 10 best players available on a free this summer. When we say available on a free, it doesn't necessarily mean they have been released by their clubs. There are some players on this list who haven't necessarily had their contracts renewed yet, but are out of contract this summer. But still, at the moment of recording, could move on a free as things stand. What has happened is me and Justin have each made our respective lists, and we've merged them together into one big list, and we have narrowed it down to create the 10 best free agents on the market to championship clubs this summer. As kind of similar to the last episode, it's up to whoever's making the respective list whether that player is realistic for championship clubs, because there may be some on this list who go to a Premier League club, for example. But I would say everyone on this list is definitely, I would personally say, more likely to go to a championship club, Justin. Is that fair?
Yeah, there's no Raphael Varane, for example, who's just been released by Manchester United. So
we've not gone that bad.
No. These are very much realistic players. And of course, as you mentioned, these players are not necessarily been officially released. They are in talks about renewing a deal, but they are open to talk to other clubs. And come June 30th, they will be unemployed and therefore free to talk to whoever the hell they want. I mean, they can talk to whoever they want now, but they are officially free to join whoever they want.
Yes, although they could still, in some certain cases, sign a contract at the club they've been at this season. But as things stand, that's not been, extended as of yet. And also, as a little bonus, at the end of the show, we'll be playing Free Agent Tinder. Now, those who have listened to the podcast for several years may be familiar with Free Agent Tinder. It's something we kind of play around this time of year when there is loads of free agents available. We'll have more on that later on in the show. Justin, kick things off on our top 10 of the best free agents available to championship clubs. Who have we got at number 10?
We've gone with Alex Mowat of West Brom, or at West Brom. Now, this is a player who's got so much championship pedigree. It's ridiculous. And he's so consistent as well. Set pieces, his left foot, delivery. He's a player who's been a key performer for Carlos Corberán and Valery Ismail in two sides that who have finished in the playoffs in recent years. Of course, at Middlesbrough on loan last season with Michael Carrick finishing in the top 6 as well. So he has championship pedigree. And as I say, he's not signed a new deal yet. One's on the table for him, but he is free to talk to other clubs. And I would imagine there'd be a few clubs on the blower to his agent because he's a very, very good player at Championship level.
Yeah, and West Brom will be looking to keep a hold of him, and that's why they haven't officially released him as at the time of recording. But he is coming off the back of his best season for at least 3 years, isn't
Yeah.
he? Just about every Championship club should at least consider him. There aren't many midfielders at this level who can offer as much as he can, defensively and offensively, because he is the definition of an all-round midfielder in the Championship, Justin. He has a wonderful left foot, which is simply capable of the sublime, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. He's one of those players. Again, I talk about set piece delivery. He's so good, but I think as well, his left foot is consistent. His quality delivery from any position on the pitch, by the way, can be pinpoint. I think it's just a case of having a style of play and a manager who taps into that. Because sometimes that isn't the case. That hasn't been the case in previous years. Obviously, he had to dip down to Oxford when he was originally at Leeds to really get his career going, and then went to Barnsley, and then he started to thrive. Especially under Valérien Ismaël, he really thrived. But more so is his ability to fit into roles within a team. Tactically, he fits really well. Obviously, under Valérien Ismaël, he was the playmaker. He was the source of creativity. He was that link-up man between the defence and the midfield, and they were super direct. And Alex Mowat can play a good diag. We can say that. And obviously with West Brom, there's been a bit more of refining to his game and be a bit more of a progressive with the ball as well. So yeah, tactically he's got that as that capability within his setup, which is a massive, massive positive. He's experienced as well. There's something that can be overlooked. He's got baby face.
He does.
He's the face of a 19-year-old still, but he's 29. He's hitting his peak years, which again it will be a massive positive.
Yeah, well, whether that's a positive or not, I'm not sure, because I've got
maybe
it
not
down.
in footballing terms.
Well, yeah, I've got it down as a downside, really, that he will be turning 30 next season, so that's not on his side. He's also going to be quite dear on the wage front, which I think is the reason why West Brom haven't been able to agree a new contract with him yet, because West Brom are trying to, trim down the wage bill because they haven't got parachute payments anymore. So it makes sense with someone like Mowat to try and get him on reduced terms. But look, everything we've stated just there works his socks off as well. For just about every top half Championship side, he's a great option to have, isn't he? So that's why he's on this list in the first place. Number 9 is a bit of an interesting one on our best free agents available to Championship clubs. We've gone with Shandon Baptiste, who has just been released by Brentford. Now, probably not a very recognisable name to many Championship fans, perhaps even many fans outside of Brentford. That's because he's spent 4.5 years at Brentford and has never really nailed down a place in the starting 11. Despite that, though, he's played 55 Premier League games over the last 3 seasons. That's because what's tended to happen with him is when Brentford are trying to hold on to a result, trying to shorten their midfield, they bring on Baptiste as a sort of enforcer. But look, he's been trusted with that job for a long time, which he deserves a lot of credit for. I mean, you know more, can't you, if you're playing that much in the Premier League? And he's now decided to move on to pastures new, and I think he could be a low-key signing of the season contender for whoever gets him, Justin.
I think one of the key things that's really held him back is he's struggled with injuries at Brentford, and not sort of long-term injuries, the sort of injuries that keep you out for 2 or 3 months at a time, that really hamper your ability to nail down a first team spot, because that Brentford midfield does rotate a lot, and they still have a lot of those that core of that midfield that got them up from the Championship, like Janelt, Norgard, Jensen, and Baptiste was in that core as well. So Thomas Frank has stuck true to those players. Obviously, Baptiste is now moving on. He's 26, so he's at a really good age as well to really nail down a spot. And for me, he's one of those players he's got a lot of box-to-box qualities, and he's got a bit of elegance about him with a dusting creative quality, which again gives you such a good asset. But like I said at the start, it's those injuries that have really held him back. But I do like what he's saying. He can be a signing of the season contender because I think he brings, like Alex Mowat, brings an all-round game to a midfield, which will be a big attraction for any manager in the Championship, won't it? Yeah,
absolutely. If you can sign him, it certainly won't make the headlines, but you'll be getting a player who can make a massive difference to your team in terms of solidifying it. He's a very intelligent player, and he's only 26. So, as you say, Justin, he's got plenty of miles in the tank yet. So it could be a really, really smart move for whoever does get him in. Justin, why don't you reveal to our listeners who is number 8 in our list?
I can. A low-key Championship goat, in my opinion. It's Ollie Norwood, who has just recently been released by Sheffield United. I think I sent a message to you saying I'll give up anything anything to have Ollie Norwood at Derby County. Paraphrasing a little bit, but look, this is a guy who's got bags of experience, bags of ball playing quality from midfield, and in addition to that, he's a leader as well. He's been promoted 3 times from the Championship, 4 times from the Championship with 3 different clubs, twice with Sheffield United, with Fulham, and then Brighton as well. The man oozes Championship, and I think if you put him on a team, I don't think he's ever really had legs either. So if you put legs around him, he's just going to pull the strings. I am surprised that Sheffield United did decide to release him, or decided to not renew his contract. It might have been the other way around. That story might come out at some point. But whoever's lucky enough to bag this guy, my goodness, they're getting one of the best ever to play at this level.
Yeah, well, it is worth mentioning Sheffield United have let a lot of players go out the door this summer, and I think they would have ideally liked to keep hold of quite a few of them, but for very different reasons, they've not been able to do that. I will point out, as we said at the top of the show, when we were making this list, Justin and I each made our individual lists, and then we've kind of merged them into one based on the averages of where we had those players. Mm-hmm. Justin, you had Ollie Norwood much higher than me. Now, I'm a big Ollie Norwood fan. He is possibly the most underrated player ever at this level. As you mentioned, 4 promotions to his name is just unbelievable. And keep in mind as well the fact that he played 27 games in the Premier League last season, admittedly with a pretty shocking Sheffield United side, but still it's a pretty good feat, isn't it, for a free agent? The big downside with me, though, is he's 33 now. If you sign him, how many years are you realistically getting out of him? But ultimately, look, I definitely think he can still do a job at this level. It would be a good signing for whoever gets him in. I just think for the purpose of this list, there's alternatives who you're going to get more out of in the long term, is my thinking.
Quite a bit of ageism coming from you here, Ryan. Andre Pirlo played until he was 36, 37. You put legs around these types of players and they thrive.
We're talking about Ollie Norwood here, not Andrea Pirlo. And I get
we're
what you're saying.
We're talking about a championship Pirlo. It might not be Andre Pirlo, but this guy is as close as you get a championship level to Pirlo.
That doesn't really defeat my argument, because if you were to sign someone who's significantly younger than Ollie Norwood, you're going to get more out of him in terms of the long term.
Yeah,
whereas Ollie Norwood, how many years has he got in him realistically?
I reckon you can give him a 2-year deal. Give him a 2-year deal and
2 years tops.
Yeah,
that's
2 years.
Whereas someone like Alex Maurer, for example, who I had higher than Ollie Norwood in my list, you could easily get 4 or 5 years out of him.
You probably could, but they're 2 completely different roles. Norwood's a very specialist role where you are there to pull the strings in the midfield. Alex Mowat is not that type of player. He's an all-rounder. And Ollie Norwood, as I say, he's got promotions in the bag. He's got that experience, which again is worth so much to a squad. And even if he's not a bona fide starter, even around the squad, if you've got a young group of players coming through and you surround Ollie Norwood with legs, you're going to get so much out of him still. He might not play 46 games, but if you can get 35, 36 games out of him, you've done a great job, and he's going to be an asset to a midfield as well. So I'm not going to let age overlook me on this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that, because I'm not sure how many championship clubs can afford to have a passenger in their team when it comes to the defensive side of things. Because, Justin, you've just been saying for the past 2 minutes, if you get legs around him, you'll be fine. So he is basically a passenger. He's not getting any younger. His legs aren't, the same as they were before. Still a very experienced player, fantastic passer, but I think you will have to do a lot of excusing him if you were to get him in your team. Still, I think it would be a good signing, but only at a certain level. Let's go on to the player who's 7th in our list of the top 10 free agents available to championship clubs this summer. It's Ian Poveda, who has just been let go by Leeds United. Now, judging from news reports, it seems like Ian Poveda is one of the most hotly sought after free agents in the championship this summer. Very highly rated at Leeds, even though he only played 14 games in the Premier League, and a lot of that was off the bench. And, since then he has been a serial loanee, spells at Blackburn, Blackpool, not doing a significant amount in that time. But there's certainly cause for encouragement after his spell at Sheffield Wednesday this season, where he really caught the eye. Wednesday fans were very impressed with what they saw, even if their glimpses of him were brief because of injury. But look, he's only 24, and when you have that sort of when you have that sort of talent that catches the eye in such brief moments like we've seen with Poveda this season, for a 24-year-old, that's very exciting on a free, isn't it, Justin?
It really is. The amount of value you can get out of Poveda if you bag him on a 2-3 year deal. He's coming into his peak years for starters as well, which is massive. Technically, he's got it all. And I think he proved it Wednesday. If he stays injury-free and you give him a bit of confidence, he's got the potential to excite the crowds, which is what you can get out of him. He showed glimpses when he was, when he moved to Leeds from Man City. He showed glimpses of what he's capable of. But you're very much in a crowd where there's a lot of creativity around you. You can almost get lost in that. Whereas at Sheffield Wednesday, in that relegation run-in, he really had to stand out. He had to be countered. And there was a lot of responsibility on his shoulders to be the player who can create sparks when Wednesday needed it, and he did that, and he was a key player, a key performer in helping Danny Rawls side stay up. And I think that's a measure or the making of a player who's really struggled to get going since coming through. So I think Pervader's there to. He's got a lot of his career in front of him, and if you can bag him on a free, as I say, there's so much value to get out of him.
Yeah, he provides a spark, doesn't he? He's a lovely dribbler, a great chance creator. He's got plenty of potential. There is plenty of potential with this lad. And the other thing to mention as well, for a championship club, how often is there the opportunity to sign a 24-year-old who's got 2 caps for the Colombian national team, Justin? That's remarkable.
That's incredible. I completely forgot about that. But again, the amount of technical quality in that Colombia, like in wide areas, you've got Luis Diaz. I've got to try and name Colombian players off the top of my head now. I can only think of Luis Diaz, but you get my point.
Dug yourself into a hole. You get the point. The fact that he had these 2 caps last year, by the way, it's not like it happened ages ago when he was a youngster. He's very much in the mix there. So it's a great opportunity to get someone who's very highly rated back in Colombia, but has also really caught the eye in recent weeks in the Championship. So there's a reason why he's so highly sought after at Championship level, isn't there? Justin, who's number 6 on this list?
We've got Ollie McBurney of Sheffield United. Now, I find Ollie McBurney such an intriguing inclusion on this list. He has been offered a new deal by Sheffield United, but I think I'm not sure where he's going to go. I'm not sure whether he's going to stay at Sheffield United. There's been speculation he'll go to Rangers. I just don't really know where he fits right now. But that being said, there is pedigree there, as a Championship player. And again, he's not old. He's still young-ish. He's 28 years old, and I think that's a very good age, especially as a striker.
Good age.
Talking about peak years. But at the same time, he's coming off the back of who had a good season last season with Sheffield United. I mean, he scored 6 goals in 21 games. That's actually a pretty good return for a team who was absolutely hopeless. So maybe I'm doing him a disservice here. Did score 13 in 38 in Sheffield United's promotion season, where he was so good in that first half of the season, picked up a hernia injury, and then didn't really get going in the second half of the season, probably still carrying that injury. So I don't really know where he fits. I think he's a great shithouse, but I just don't know how he works as a player, how he operates as a striker, where he brings value. He's got a nice touch, and he wears his socks really low, which looks good sometimes.
Yeah, he works his socks off that much. They start falling off. It is interesting with McBurney because there is a chance that he just signs a new deal at Sheffield and stays there, but it seems like he's been keeping his cards close to his chest on where his future is going to lie. However, if another Championship side were to get him, I think it would be an unbelievable move. I mean, you mentioned it there, Justin, 6 goals in 21 games in the Premier League. How often does the chance come along for a Championship side to sign a player who finished as a team's joint top goal scorer in the Premier League? So, we all keep in mind Sheffield United were appalling last season, but I think McBurney deserves a lot of credit for getting 6 goals because he was living off scraps, and he is a big physical lad. As we say, runs around a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if a Premier League club even looked at him and said, he can offer us something different. We may take a gamble on him.
Yeah, it's true. It's a good point. 'Cause as you say, he offers something different. He's a spark in a different way, isn't he? He's a spark. He's a faulty plug in your house. So if it creates a spark, it can create quite a bit of damage, quite a bit of fire. And that's sometimes what you need. It's sometimes what you need in a football team, not in a house, obviously.
I was going to say, definitely not in a house.
Yeah, if you've got that in house, definitely call in an electrician immediately. But sometimes it can be what you need in a side. Just someone to come on, lift the crowd, piss off the opposition, really unsettle sides, and he does carry that. I just don't think he's a consistent enough goal scorer for me to throw a 3-year deal and excess amount of wages at him. I think the only place he's going to get that probably is at Rangers, somewhere in the Premier League, or renewing his contract to Sheffield United. I don't think any other Championship club will take that risk.
I'm not sure. You got to remember he did really well in Sheffield United's promotion season. Scored 22 goals for Swansea a few years back. Yeah. And I mean, talking about the promotion season with Sheffield United, he would have scored more if it wasn't for injury. So he's got to be a serious.
That's what I mean, though. He's either up or he's down. I think that's the thing that I'm not. I've basically described inconsistency, which I don't think is particularly fair. But he's either having a really good season.
He's only come with Sheffield United, though, Justin.
I suppose. So. But for me, he's only ever really had a really good season or a really shit season. That's Ulrich McBurney. He's never had a just scored 12 goals and do your business sort of thing.
That was pretty much his promotion season. But as we were saying, he could have scored more if it wasn't for injury. But look, I think it's worth the gamble if you're going to get sometimes very good, sometimes very shit with Ollie McBurney. Because if it works out really well, then it'll be a fantastic sign. And I think for me, he should be of serious consideration for any top-end Championship side because he has only turned 28. So he's in his prime years, still has miles in the tank. I think he'd be a very good signing for plenty of Championship sides. Let's go to number 5, Justin. We've gone with a goalkeeper. It's Marek Rodak, who's just been let go by Fulham. Now, I've been a fan of his for quite some time now, really for his performances in both of Fulham's promotion seasons. In both of them, he ended up becoming the number 1 choice, including in that season where Fulham ran away with the league. And on both occasions, when Fulham got to the Premier League, he was instantly dropped and replaced. It astonishes me that he didn't get more of a chance at top flight level because, to have 2 promotion seasons under your belt, play really well in both of them, and only have 4 Premier League appearances to your name in 3 seasons. It's really, really unlucky, isn't it? Ultimately, though, he's still only 27, which is young in goalkeeper years. So for anyone who's looking for a goalkeeper, this guy has got to be top of your list, I think, Justin.
Yeah, he really has. 27 years old, you say, peak years as a goalkeeper. He's got 10 years left, hasn't he? At the very least, Actually, I do think it's a myth that goalkeepers go until they're 40 because they usually get very immobile. But he's got at least 7 or 8 years at a top level, I think. I do think Championship is a top level, by the way. I'm not going to say Champions League by any chance.
We get it.
But what you're getting with Rodak, he's a Slovakian international. He's at the Euros now with Slovakia, obviously, and he's a player who needs first team football, which is probably why he's left Fulham. He could have easily sat on the bench for a very long time, but the man craves first team football, and he deserves a chance as well at being a number 1 goalkeeper, and not just a Championship number 1. Being a Championship number 1 and then a Premier League number 1. He deserves that opportunity because you do so well consistently as a goalkeeper to not only play in 1 Championship promotion campaign but 2. You do deserve a chance to have a go in the Premier League. Yes, he's not a Bernd Leno or a Alphonse Areola, 2 goalkeepers that have replaced him in previous years at Fulham, but he's Marek Rodak. He's 27, still got lots to learn. He's a fully fledged international as well. You don't get that in goalkeepers very often.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity if you are in the market for a goalkeeper to get someone who could be your number 1 for many years to come. And I wouldn't rule out the possibility of him being a first choice Premier League goalkeeper at some point in his career, just because I've been so impressed with him.
Yeah.
And as we were alluding to, it surprises me really that he's had so few opportunities in the top flight. Justin, let's go to number 4. Who is our next choice on this list?
It's Mr. Versatility. It's Paddy McNair, previously at Fulham, previously at Middlesbrough. Now, Paddy McNair, as I say, is Mr. Versatility, but I think sometimes versatility can be used as a slight towards you. The Phil Neville type. But Paddy McNair has excelled in every single role he's played in at Middlesbrough. He's just an incredible player. And as I say, he's seamlessly fitted into whatever he's been asked to do, whether that's as a right back, centre back, central midfielder, or a right side centre off. He can be deployed in that role and just put in a 7 out of 10 performance. He's been a consistent player for Middlesbrough for so many years. He's, again, probably gone under the radar in terms of being underrated. in that sense, because he's been a linchpin in some poor sides and some good sides as well. Probably moving on, might not fit into Carrick's plans. Probably a big earner as well at the Riverside, but I think as a club in the market for a player who can just about do anything on the football pitch, I think Paddy McNair's near perfect. He's close to perfection as you want in a Championship footballer.
Yeah, well, I think that's the reason why he's moved on from Middlesbrough. It's just time for a change for him in his career, and also Middlesbrough need to trim down that wage bill because they signed him for a lot of money once upon a time. So he would have been earning a fair wage at the Riverside. For me, in terms of all the players on this list, based on current ability, Paddy McNair is the best here. I think you've got a player here who's been one of the best and most consistent defenders in the division over the past 5 years. I mean, it was only 12 months ago that he more or less pocketed Victor Gyökeres over 2 games in the playoff semi-finals. And Gyökeres is now one of the best strikers in the world. To have that in your locker is pretty remarkable, isn't it? But it's not just that. In terms of ball-playing centre-backs, he has got it all at Championship level. I completely agree with you, Justin. So versatile, can play at full-back and in midfield. He is 29 now, so you're not getting as much value out of him as some players on this list. However, you'll get at least 3 years out of him, and he may also ask for a hefty wage, but for a certain Championship club, for a certain level of Championship club, he's definitely worth it, I think, Justin.
Oh, without doubt. Again, his agent's probably going to be very, very busy. You've got teams who are in the market for this type of play. I think Norwich, in previous years have probably thrown a lot of money at sort of aging players, but Paddy McNair certainly fits that quality that they need, I think, just to throw a team in there. But I think Norwich are one of probably 12 or 13 teams that could easily fit Paddy McNair into their plans. Obviously, I think this is the key thing that I'm trying to say. Is Paddy McNair has got the pick of football clubs. I'd imagine he's going to have the pick of football clubs to choose from. Even probably abroad. He's probably going to get interest from abroad as well, because he's got that pedigree of coming through at Manchester United, playing top flight football, and then stepping down and being so bloody consistent. He's an international as well with Northern Ireland. I know it's Northern Ireland. People are going to turn their noses up at it, but it's still international football. So you've still got to display a certain amount of pedigree. So that goes in his favour as well. I love Paddy McNair. I think that's the low down here. Just love him. He's a great footballer. Just
a really underrated player, isn't he?
Absolutely.
Just a really, really top-class player. Justin, let's have a quick break. After that, we'll go to our top 3 on the top 10 players available for Championship clubs this summer. Welcome back to the Second Tier podcast. We're counting down the top 10 players available on a free to Championship clubs this summer. We've just gone through 10 to 4, so that means we're on to the top 3. A very intriguing top 3, if I do say so myself. Justin, who have we got in number 3?
We've got Sam McCallum at Norwich, previously at Norwich, I should say. Now, you see, it's very, very intriguing. Very intriguing. He's a player who's got, I think, a lot of potential, unfulfilled potential, mainly down to injuries. And again, I was quite surprised to see him on the release list at Norwich, mainly because I think there's a player there who's, if you can keep him fit, he's a very good asset to have at wing-back. Now, he made 34 appearances in all competitions last season for the Canaries. So again, all the more reason why my eyebrows were raised to see him on that release list. So, yeah, I think there's a player there who, again, left wing-backs are very difficult to find good value in. Whenever we try to decide on players for our end of season awards, we always find it difficult to search out a left wing back. Now, I think Sam McCallum, again, if you can keep him fit, there's a player there. There's a player there, and I think you only got to look at his previous spells. QPR, Coventry on loan, and obviously last season at Norwich. There's plenty of ability there and plenty of potential.
Yeah, this is an exciting opportunity for a lucky Championship club. A quick reminder that only Leeds and Ipswich picked up more points than Norwich in 2024. So who fancies a player who started 14 of those 21 games and is still only 23? That's why it's such an exciting opportunity. And it is worth saying he would have started more of those games had it not been for the fact that Norwich have an equally solid left-back of their own in Dimitris Giannoulis, who's also been released strangely. But
I guess why it's more weird.
Yeah, exactly. But is a fully-fledged Greek international. They've got to keep him happy as well, so that they had to rotate between the two. But Sam McCallum really impressed me in that great run for Norwich. He's a really solid left-back who It would be a great signing for the majority of Championship clubs. Certainly better defensively than offensively. But that could be worked on because he is so young. You get in a player here who you'll either get 5 years plus out of, or you'll sell for a few £1,000,000 down the line. That's why it's a really exciting opportunity, I think, to try and sign up McCallum, Justin.
Dilksonomics right there. The economics of football with Ryan Dilks.
Do you disagree?
I don't disagree. I think if he doesn't particularly fulfil his potential, you don't get a full 5 years. I think it's going to be difficult to sell him for a few million. But it's a low risk.
It is Justin, but because he's so young and he's performed so well at this young age, you'd expect his career to just go up and up and up, wouldn't you?
You'd hope so. But this is a free transfer. It's a low risk situation for all the football clubs in the Championship right now. And that's why it's so promising, because you can get a player who's 23 years old, who was signed for a reported fee of £3.5 million back in 2020 when Norwich originally signed him from Coventry. There's clearly there potential there to invest in, to invest time in, to invest quality in. And again, I think there's going to be a lot of clubs in the market for a left wing back this season. One who's 23, one who's got bags of games under his belt at Championship level already. And that's withstanding the injuries he's had. So I think it's a bit of a no-brainer for football clubs, or for clubs in the division. You've got to make a gamble, and I don't think it is to get a 23-year-old on a free transfer.
No, it seems completely worth it, doesn't it? Just to move into our top two, and number 2, we have got Tyrese Campbell, who's recently been released by Stoke City. Now, Justin, when we were compiling this list, you were really hot on Tyrese Campbell. You actually had him as your number 1 choice. So explain that for us, please.
What have I said about Tyrese Campbell over the years? I think I had him down as a Golden Boot contender last year. I'm so big on Tyrese Campbell, and I think it's so frustrating because I think there's been a perfect storm of him picking up his ACL injury at the very wrong time, meniscus injury at a terrible time that he did, because he was just picking up form under Michael O'Neill, was looking so sharp, and then that knee injury just curtailed his development and progress at that point. Comes back and Stoke City are almost desperate for him to come back, and then Stoke City are underperforming. It's been a perfect storm of a player who needs a settled environment in an unsettled environment, and I think that's what's really held him back over the years. But 24 years old, he's going to be 25 this December. Again, we're talking about quality and value. A 25-year-old for free who's clearly got quality that you need. Again, I talk about his movement. His movement's so good, and his ability to draw attention of defenders inside the box is so bloody good as well. I just think you need a settled environment. A bit of love from a manager. A Neil Warnock type in a relationship with a manager where he's going to be given that time and an opportunity to flourish, because I believe there's a player there who can get 15, 20 goals.
Yeah, I feel like I've been waiting a lifetime for Tyrese Campbell too.
At the same time, we've been waiting for Stoke to finish in the top half. So these things, they're parallel, aren't they?
Hey, Justin,
they're
don't
parallel.
jump ahead of me just yet. I was going to say,
PR machine.
It feels like I've been waiting for a lifetime for Tyrese Campbell to become that guy. And I'm not as convinced as you that he will become that guy. But he's definitely worth the gamble. He's quick, strong, great dribbler. He's got a beautiful touch. What's been lacking from his game in recent times has been putting the ball in the back of the net. His shooting numbers for the last 2 seasons don't make for pretty reading. He's in the top 10 forwards to underperform his expected goals last season. So he has been pretty wasteful. However, he has shown in the past that he can be a great finisher. So maybe it's just a confidence thing. And as you've alluded to, his confidence will have been pretty low after the last few seasons at Stoke, where everyone's confidence is pretty much low there. So the right manager could turn him into an absolute beast. And he is only 24, turning 25 in half a year's time. So time is definitely on his side. It's just about getting the right move next, isn't it? And if he does that, then we could still see the player who we were all hoping would turn out to be an absolute phenomenon when we first saw him kicking it about at Stoke.
How hard is it to get a player who's shown that he's got the ability way back when? He's shown that he's got the quality and ability. And that's when he was breaking through. And now he's hitting the years where he's got to really start to make a difference in a team. how difficult is it to get a player under of that sort of yield under £2-3 million? It's impossible. It doesn't exist now. So I think if you've Tyrese Campbell again, quite a few players on this list that fall in that same category, he's going to have to pick of football teams in the division. There's just so much quality and potential still, unfulfilled potential with Tyrese Campbell, that I think if you put him in the right environment, the kid's going to thrive.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see where he's going to be next, and if he does make the right move, he's certainly one to keep an eye on next season. Justin, who is top of our list for the top 10 players available to Championship clubs this summer?
It's Callum O'Hare. It had to be Callum O'Hare. Callum O'Hare, previously of Coventry City, of course, they have offered him a new deal, but unlikely to stay at this point, I would say anyway, mainly because there's going to be a lot of interest in him. And he has flirted with a move away from the CBS Arena in previous years. Obviously, he's had interest from Burnley, so I expect some interest to be reignited in and around the Championship, even maybe in the Premier League as well, or abroad, because what he's shown at Coventry City, he's a difference maker, isn't he? He's a difference maker. I think it's quite strange saying that. I think Coventry City, I don't think they're a worse side without him, but they certainly have to adapt. I think Mark Robins has to adapt his system a little bit when he doesn't have Callum O'Hare. And I think if you can get him fit and completely over his 2 serious injuries that he's had, Callum O'Hare is he's a frightening prospect in the Championship.
Yeah, what you get with him is a player who can change a game. Not every club has that kind of player in the Championship. They usually cost millions of pounds. So to be able to get him on a free this summer is crazy. And I think one of his main motivations to what looks like leave Coventry was to try and get a move to the Premier League. Now, that may very well happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if top flight clubs held off of him and he goes to a top-end Championship club instead. Because, I mean, one of the 2 things, really, which might put off Premier League clubs is injuries and his end product. He has only had the one bad injury. Before that, he had played every game for 2 seasons, so we have got to keep that in mind. And then as far as his end product is concerned, his best return for a season is 13 goal contributions at Championship level. So that can be improved. But what you get with him is a terrific dribbler. He can take the ball in the middle of the park and make things happen. He can draw fouls. He can pull players out of position. He can play down the middle or on either wing. And he's only just turned 26, Justin. 26 years old. You've got a player entering his prime years. If you get him on a free and you're a Championship club this summer, it's outrageous value and has surely got to go down as one of the signings of the summer if it were to happen, Justin.
If it were to happen, I think it's one of those where he drives his own price up, doesn't he, Callum O'Hare, in a sense. I know he's only a free transfer, but yeah, if he's got 5 or 6 clubs coming after him, he's able to drive up his own offers, his own salary offers. It's a great position to be in, isn't it, as a player? So, look, I think I do think as well. Well, you've got to admit with him, I don't know where he can fit in a system where he doesn't play behind a striker, because I don't think we've seen that at Coventry. And Coventry obviously is where he's thrived. So I think if that makes it more of a unique situation, because I think tactically he's only going to be able to fit in one system. That may need adapting to bring him in. But at the same time, I think with Callum O'Hare, there's a player there who's got the potential to refine his game a little bit. I don't think he's had the chance to do it because of a season-ending injury a couple of seasons ago. So I think there's so much quality, so much potential in what you can get out of him that we have not seen yet as well, which I think is a frightening prospect. But as you say, what he really needs to do is improve that end product. And there's a player there who's going to be worth £10-15 million very, very easily.
Yeah, if he had that end product, he'd already be in the Premier League, wouldn't he? You're talking maybe even like a £30 million player, because in terms of what he can do on the ball, it's absolutely magic. It's just about, developing that end product and making him so much more effective in front of goal, or around the penalty area, I should say. So that's been our top 10 list, Justin. Let's quickly rattle through that. So in 10th place on our list of the top 10 players who are available on a free to Championship clubs this summer, we have Alex Mowat. Then we've got Shandon Baptiste in 9th. Ollie Norwood is 8th. Ian Poveda is 7th. In 6th, we have Ollie McBurney. In 5th, we have Marek Rodak. 4th is Paddy McNair. 3rd is Sam McCallum. Number 2, Tyrese Campbell, and then top of the list, the big dog, Callum O'Hare. That is a pretty good list as far as I'm concerned, JP. Let's round off the show, shall we, with a little game we like to call Free Agent Tinder. So for those who have been listening to us for several years, we often play Free Agent Tinder around this time of year. What happens is I'll read out a player who's out of contract, and Justin and I, we will discuss what kind of level club in the Championship should be saying yes to him, whether you maybe even be saying no to him at Championship level. Justin, because we haven't got much time left, I just want your explanation on this to be as brief as possible. I'm talking less than 10 seconds for each one. A proper kind of Tinder kind of thing.
Tinder experience.
Yes, exactly. Not paying much attention at all, just swiping. Justin, the first player we've got is Alan Brown. What do you think?
I swipe right. I think there's a good box-to-box player who's very aggressive in midfield, good ball winner as well, leadership qualities. I think there'll be a lot of Championship clubs looking to sign that type of player. A lot of experience at Championship level as well, and an international.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that, Justin. I actually wanted him to be on our top 10 list, but was mercilessly booed off when I suggested that. But he's coming off probably his best season at Preston in a number of years. So if you want him, you get yourself an all-action midfielder. I think it'd be a top-class signing for the majority of Championship clubs. Caden Jackson, who's just been let go by Ipswich. Justin, what do you think?
I swipe left. I think he's a League One level striker, unless you are a team with a low budget who needs a hard-working, versatile front man. Then maybe Caden Jackson fits that bill, but I don't think he's going to score double figures, do you?
No, I don't think he's Championship level. I always got a bit worried when he was playing for Ipswich last season. So yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe like bottom end Championship, but it's a bit strange that considering he has played so many games at Championship level, I'm not sure I'd want him at a Championship side next season. Stuart Armstrong, Justin, full Scotland international, just been let go by Southampton.
Oh, I'm going to swipe left.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Why?
I worry about his age and his injury record and what it will cost at Championship level.
Oh, God, I'm not sure I agree with that at all. I think Stuart Armstrong will be a superb signing for pretty much every Championship side. My only issue is I think he's going to Scotland, so I'm not sure he's going to be in the Championship next season, but I think it'd be a quality signing for a Championship side. Did pull it off. Bobby Reid, Justin, who I think has just been let go by Fulham.
I'm going to swipe right. He's an intriguing player for me because he's been in and around that first team at Fulham for longer than I thought he would be. So yeah, I think he's definitely worth a punt in the Championship, and obviously came so close to the Championship Golden Boot a few years ago for Bristol City. So yeah, I think there's a player there who's versatile, can play centrally, right wing, left wing, and as a number 10, I think again he'd be a good asset to have in a Championship team.
Yeah, you're getting a bit slow with your explanations, Justin. I said 10 seconds. Come on now. I completely agree with everything you say, though. Don't have anything more to add. I just think I'd be quite surprised if he actually did drop down to the Championship, because I think Premier League clubs will be sniffing around him because he's done pretty well in the Premier League, actually, hasn't he? Next up, Justin, is Brandon Williams, who was on loan at Ipswich last season, just been let go by Manchester United. What do you think?
I'll swipe right, but it's a cautious swipe right. I think there's you got a right back and a left back there if you need it. Maybe a bit expensive. That's the only thing that would really hold me back. And obviously, if you can stay fit and out of trouble, he's a good player to have.
I think 23 years old, unbelievable signing on a free. He's another one who I was campaigning hard to get into our top 10, but again, mercilessly booed out the building for that. Big concern with me is injuries, because that's really held him back over the past few years, and maybe another concern for any club who gets him in. Ben Osborne, Justin, who is still in conversations apparently to re-sign with Sheffield United, but is out of contract this summer. What do you think?
I swipe right, mainly because he can play as a central midfielder or as a wing back. I don't really know what he brings to a team, though. I've never really understood his role other than a man who just comes on for 20 minutes for Sheffield United. It might sound a bit disrespectful, but I think he's a useful asset to have in a squad, but that's about it.
Yeah, I tell you what, he does offer a lot of industry. He's got a pretty decent left foot as well. Apart from that, I would say mid-table to lower Championship kind of area, I think. He's someone who I've always thought is a bit underrated, but he's not done much in the past few years, it's got to be said, has it? Liam Cooper, Justin, who I don't think has officially been released by Leeds yet. I'm not actually sure. Either way, he's not going to be there next season. So what do you think?
That's what I've been left. He just doesn't. He's not fit enough. He doesn't stay injury free. Don't get me wrong. If that wasn't the case, I'd jump at the chance of him because of his leadership qualities, and he's a good defender. But just injuries, it's just a no for me.
I think I would swipe right for bottom half Championship clubs. I think he's still got a lot to offer in terms of experience, but he's not getting any younger. His legs are going, maybe on a fairly decent wage as well. So for a bottom half Championship club, I think he could still do a job, but I wouldn't be raving about that signing if anyone were to get him in. Matty Phillips, Justin, just been let go by West Brom. What do you think? This
is probably the hardest one. I don't know. I don't know. I'm spending a long time. I'm going to swipe right. If he stays fit, great player, but it's a risk. He's such a risk.
Yeah, if you're really playing Tinder right now, this is one of those where you swipe right and then wait to see how the conversation goes before.
I think so.
Before you decide. Matt Phillips. It's got to be said. He's 33 now. He's going to be 34 next season. He's not getting any younger. Still has a bit to offer at Championship level, but I'd be worried if a side was relying on him week in, week out, especially with his injury record. So you're looking bottom half. I'd be looking for a big wage cut as well if anyone was to get him in. Aaron Connolly, been released by Hull this season. He's a very interesting one, Justin.
I'm going to swipe right because I think he showed at Hull that he's got something about him. Obviously, there's a lot surrounding his ability off the pitch, but I think what Rossini got out of him, if you put an arm around him and show him the way, he can provide goals. Only as a squad option, though. I'm not relying on him to be my number 9.
Yeah, well, he's had a bit of a funny career because he was very highly rated, wasn't he, when he was at Brighton. Had a good start at Hull last season, but then has really struggled with injury since. And then when he has come back, has not really pulled up many trees. So it's got to be said, still only 24. Somebody may be able to find the best of Aaron Connolly, but otherwise I'm a bit sceptical. So maybe I'd swipe left on him. Jack Cork, Justin, been released by Burnley. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to swipe right. I think the age thing for me with Jack Cork, I mean, he's never been in trouble with injuries. If I'm going to rate Ollie Norbert so highly, I'm not going to use age against Jack Cork because I think he's got so much about him. Leadership, he's got a good engine as well, and he's a handsome man.
He is a handsome man. He does turn 35 in a couple of weeks' time.
What's your point?
I'm not sure. I'd probably be swiping left. It wouldn't surprise me if he retired, actually. But I suppose on a year's contract, he'd be a decent signing for quite a few Championship clubs. But again, if you're asking him to do a job week in, week out, not for me. Justin, this player, you actually had in your top 5, I think, on your list. I had him not even in my top 20. It's Jamal Lowe, who has been let go by Bournemouth. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm swapping right, no doubt about that. Again, you've got a player there who can play as a false 9, a number 9, right wing or left wing. He's got versatility about him and he can score goals at Championship level. Bournemouth move was a wrong one for him. I think Swansea should get back in for him as soon as possible. I really do.
I don't think Swansea are going to do that. I don't think it'd be a good move if they did that. He's 29 now. 9 goals last season. Ageist. Well, he plays a big part with me, Justin. 9 goals last season, playing a lot of it up front, which is okay. But he did lose his place in an unremarkable Swansea side towards the end of last season. So I'm struggling to see the attraction with him. So, yeah, I'm not sure I'd be swiping right from him if I was a top half Championship side. Maybe bottom half, worth a go, but I don't see much of an attraction if you're anything top half, I've got to say. Andy Vyman, Justin.
I don't know with Andy Vyman. I think that 20-goal season for Bristol City really does sway me a little bit because if that's not in his career, I'm going nowhere near him. But because it is, I think he can get close to it. But look, the man defines energy. He defines engine, doesn't he? So he's always good to have in the team.
He's certainly versatile. Is going to be 33 in August, though. And again, age plays a big factor with me. So unless you're a bottom quarter championship side, I'm not sure I'd be saying that was a good signing. Maybe could be a decent squad option for a couple of sides above that, but I'm not sure. Final one, Justin, in free agent Tinder for 2024. It's Chris Willock. What do you think?
Chris Willock. What an interesting case study Chris Willock is. I think he can be one of the division's best players if you put him in a good team, good technical team, but I also think he can be completely null and void. I'll swipe right because he's 26, 27 years old. There's quality there, but it has to be the right team. It has to be the right team.
26 years old, at times for prolonged periods has been one of the best midfielders in the division. I think he's 100% worth a go for top half championship sides. Maybe not if you're a promotion chasing side, but certainly a top half championship side. He's worth a go. The right manager could make him into a Premier League player, as far as I'm concerned. I think he is that good. It's just we haven't seen that enough over the past couple of seasons. So I think it's definitely worth a go because he can produce the spectacular. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's been Free Agent Tinder. And this has been kind of our roundup of the best free agents available to championship clubs this summer. As always, if you've enjoyed, then please leave us a review on whichever podcast platform you are listening to us on. We would greatly appreciate it. It helps us grow as a podcast even further, and we would greatly appreciate that support. So thank you for taking 5 seconds of your time to do that. But this has been the Second Tier Podcast. We'll be back again on Monday, where we'll be speaking to a player who was recently given a shout out in our Second Tier Team of the Season. Interesting. So we look forward to seeing you then for that. But this has been the Second Tier Podcast. I've been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for listening.